Yes.
Okay, good. All right, and so we will give you an overview of what we discussed during December. So in here you can see the poster that we used during the training, okay, with all the different phases of the end-to-end process, okay, from the procure phase, okay, until the execute and monitor. All right. So as you know, for STS, you will be the ones creating the shopping cart, right? So the process will be initiated by creating the shopping cart that you will do, and if needed, we can discuss about the changes in the shopping cart. But remember, we discussed in December that there were some fields that become now important with implementation of TM. So, for example, admin, which one, or anybody from there in HQ, which were the fields that we discussed in December that are going to become important when raising a shopping cart for vehicles? So which were the fields that we said were going to be important?
Are you going to review that? Because Alma's here, and that reason actually is important for her. Do you want to review what's exactly the important fields, or just?
Okay, so we can do it. Okay, so I'm not putting the presentation in presentation mode. I'm not putting the slides in presentation mode just to because we don't have time to go through the entire process. But the ones you consider more important, we can go through them. So, for example, in here in this slide, we have what we discussed that we're going to be the most important fields. Okay. And we said, okay, so Incoterm, and Incoterm location. Okay, we're gonna be triggering the transportation mode. Okay, so in the shopping cart, the Incoterm was gonna derive how many different counterparts we're gonna be having in the transportation scenario. If I'm not mistaken, for UNOE vehicles, the Incoterm that you're going to be using, it's mainly FCA, right, Asmin?
FCA, yes.
FCA. And then there's going to be a change in the location, in the Incoterm location, and there's going to be a match code so that you can, instead of free text, the requisitioner will use a matchbox or a drop-down field to select the Incoterm location. Okay. And that Incoterm location will have an impact in that will be one of the intermediate points in the transportation, meaning that this Incoterm location will be where the vehicles will be handed over from the manufacturer to UN to the freight forwarder. Okay.
Leandro, who fills that information? Yes. Who populates that?
That will be the requisition, right? So the requisition is the one.
You said it's pull down. So who feeds the information? Mohammed?
Oh, the master data.
Right.
Yeah, that comes from the master data, right? So there are a list of Incoterm locations, and the list of Incoterm location is updated as part of the master data. Okay, so there will be a master data request in case for each business partner there will be a list of allowed Incoterm locations. Okay. And that, I mean, we can specifically ask for that question. So list of Incoterm location and how that will be requested. Okay. Because as of today, the Incoterm location is free text, right? So there will be a way to request new master data. Okay. So let's take note of that question. Okay, and we can later on send it to you. Okay, so master data for Incoterm locations. So thank you for the question, Sergio. One of the other changes was the freight line. So as of today, if you use XWorks Incoterm or FCA Incoterm, the freight line is mandatory, but starting from 21st January, when using shopping cart for vehicles, the freight line will not be mandatory anymore because the freight services have to be raised in a different shopping cart. Okay, so freight shopping cart will be created separately. Okay, so that's another change. So if you're the ones raising the shopping cart for vehicles, the freight services have to go in a different shopping cart. All right. What else? The delivery address specified in the shopping cart, that's gonna be that's gonna become the final destination for the goods. All right. And the important thing here is that the delivery address shouldn't be typed manually. You should be, as a requisitioner, selecting from one of the existing delivery addresses. I mean that would be, for example, the different missions. So if you need to add, if the delivery address, if the mission is not appearing there, you shouldn't be typing the address manually, but you should be requesting a new delivery address. Okay, because those delivery addresses are mapped to destinations in TM, and if you type them manually, TM, the transportation module, the new one, will not be able to link that delivery address to an existing location in TM. All right. So important not to type manually the delivery addresses in SRM, but selecting from existing ones. Purchasing groups become also important, not only for triggering the list of buyers, but also for the transportation management module. Purchasing group, the only one that will trigger the transportation request to TM will be in phase 1 the S05, the PD vehicles team. That will be the only one that in phase 1 will be connected to TM, and all the other ones there will be no transportation management process. Okay, so only shopping carts that are raised using purchasing group PD vehicles team will have the new process that allows in the system to manage the transportation in TM. Okay, and the two additional fields we wanted to talk about are the supplier. So by selecting the supplier in SRM, that will automatically indicate in TM who is going to be the supplier that will be able to submit events in the carrier collaboration portal, meaning the supplier, the manufacturer. So if, for example, we are raising a shopping cart and we are using, let's say, a system contract with Nissan and with Toyota, for that particular requirement, Nissan and Toyota will be able to submit events and attachments directly in the carrier collaboration portal for the part of the transportation they are responsible for. So from the factory up to the Incoterm location, the manufacturer will be able to submit events and attachments directly in the carrier collaboration portal.
The supplier name is going to be from a drop-down menu, Mohammed, in the shopping cart. You can select it from the shopping cart or from the PO?
The supplier name is as usual.
From the shopping cart.
Yes.
I mean, because we are usually selecting the
wait. Supplier in the shopping cart, you don't put suppliers, right? That's in PO.
PO.
Like if it's an LBA.
It's a PO, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the shopping cart, you're not supposed to put supplier. We cannot pinpoint supplier.
Exactly. Leandro, this is one that should be in the PO, not the shopping cart, right?
Unless we are using a system contract, right? So if we
we're using, I'm talking about the vehicles. The vehicles, all the items, they are under system contracts from the catalog.
So if we are using a system contract, then the supplier is also defaulted and coming from the system contract, right?
Yes. So it's the drop-down menu is supposed to be in the PO, not in the shopping cart.
Okay. All right. But when you start, sorry, Asmin, when you select the item from the system contract, you're already specifying who's going to be the supplier, right?
Under the contract.
So it's going to be automatically then.
Yeah.
Yes. So in the contract, that contract is already for a particular supplier. So if you're, for example, raising a shopping cart using a system contract with Nissan, the supplier will always be Nissan.
Okay, so the supplier name is going to be added automatically from the catalog.
From the catalog, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then the delivery date, right? So the delivery date for FCA, that is the Incoterm that we use for vehicles. Delivery date, it's when the manufacturer will unload, right? Will do or it's the date for the manufacturer to leave the goods or the vehicles in the Incoterm location. So that delivery date at Incoterm location will be used in the transportation management module as a baseline date for all the other transportation related dates, like for example departure date, okay, from Incoterm location up to the final destination, also the handover from the manufacturer to the freight forwarder, and so on. So the delivery date that is specified is used later on by management to calculate the other related dates. Yes.
Yeah, I think also this is one delivery date is entered by the PD in the PO, not in the shopping cart.
Okay, so and I think that's also part of the system contract, right? So in the system contract, you normally have.
In the system contract, it doesn't take the lead times of specific items.
Okay.
I think it's done usually by PD.
Mm-hmm.
And, the PD.
The contract has the lead time.
Yes.
But
it doesn't take into account the shopping cart, exactly.
Right. It doesn't take into account any of the logistics.
Yes. So it should be done by PD vehicle team.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Actually be on shopping cart.
So these fields basically, I mean, they apply to the shopping cart, and the same fields are basically copied in the PO. So even though it appears, for example, the delivery date in the shopping cart, maybe it's, as you're saying, Sergio and Asmi, they are populating more in the purchase order by procurement division.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So that's in regards to the shopping cart and PO. So in here, you have only the fields that will become important when we move to TM, but we still need to consider all the other fields, right? Like for example, the plant, the storage location. So all the fields that you are currently populating, you still need to take care of them. Like for example, account assignment, and if it's an asset or not, the asset master record. But in here, you have the fields that become important now that we are moving to and integrating with the transportation management model. Okay. So, Sergio, did you click on the hand button, or you can see?
The what? Oh no, that was before.
No. Okay.
No. All right.
Okay. So let's move ahead. So this is regarding the part of the requisition and procurement. So let's go. So we discussed a little bit about this part, about the documents that are raised in SRM to procure the goods. And if we move down to the integration with ECC, so once the PO for goods, once the PO for the vehicles is approved, in ECC, the inbound delivery will be automatically created, right? And using that inbound delivery is how we can do the packing. So packing becomes now important. If you remember what we discussed in December, by doing packing in the inbound delivery document is how we can, as a transportation planner, we can indicate the real volume and weight of the items, of the vehicles we are transporting. So by doing the packing in the inbound delivery, we can specify the cubic meters and the weight, and new packaging materials are being set up specifically for vehicles. So you will be able to use packing, select the specific packaging materials, and specify the volume and the weight.
Leandro, I think the new phase 1, the inbound delivery is not going to be populated automatically. I think it should be done manually. And when the EDI is ready to go, so the suppliers will send the information through the EDI systems. It's going to be created automatically when the EDI is completed. So I don't believe right now in the new phase it's going to be still populated automatically.
No, I mean the inbound delivery, it's a document that currently it's created automatically. So there is a batch job that creates the inbound deliveries automatically. So when the EDI comes, what we were talking about, the volume and weight, will come automatically. That information will come automatically from the manufacturer. So, but in phase 1, we don't have EDI yet, and the only way to specify weight and volume will be by using the packing functionality, the pack functionality in the inbound delivery. If I'm not mistaken, the inbound delivery is still created by this batch job, but we can ask and confirm it to you later on. Okay, ask me.
All this information is already available as of right now?
No.
Which one do you mean?
Well, the weights, the packing information, is it available as of now?
No, the thing is that in the material master catalog, we are not, or we don't have the weight and volume for the vehicles and for none of the materials, right? So in the material master catalog, we don't have that information. So the way to maintain that information is by specifying that when doing packing.
Okay, so the question here is this. Is this a game stopper if we try to raise a requisition today and we're not able to fill this information that is currently not available yet?
So it will not be a hard stop in the process. The only thing is that when you create, for example, the scope of work, the freight forwarder will not be able to see which are the weights and volumes you want to transport. So unless you do that using the packing functionality, in the scope of work will not appear weights and volumes.
Who does that?
Myself.
You.
It's called inbound coordinator. No, it's not later. It's inbound coordinator.
That's part of the system.
There's no hard stop because packing is done usually before actually starting the stations. So there is no hard stop right now.
But if the freight is inside the vehicle requisition, it's not a game stopper, is what I'm saying.
No. Okay. So it's just, we can keep it there because right now it's mandatory, but just keep it there. So what I'm going to use. So right now, the new ones, just keep it zero. Don't put any because we're going to create a new order later on, a freight later on.
All right. So by updating those, the DTRs and the freight units will include the volume and the weight. So by doing packing, if you specify the proper weight and volume, the documents in TM will be populated with those proper weights and volumes. And so just by approving the PO, automatically the inbound delivery will be created, and in here is where we have the integration with TM. So automatically the TM module will create delivery-based transportation requirement, the DTR, so one per inbound delivery, and it will automatically create a freight unit, again, one per inbound delivery. So there is always a one-to-one relationship between inbound deliveries, DTRs, and freight units. So for each inbound delivery, the system in TM will create a DTR and a freight unit. And that's done automatically by the system, so no need to connect to TM and create them manually. But if we connect into TM, we will already see, for each inbound delivery, we will already see a DTR and a freight unit. Okay, so DTR are basically the copy of the inbound delivery in TM, and the freight units are a different document that include the different vehicles that need to be transported together from the origin to the destination. Okay, for let's say, for example, from the factory up to the mission, up to the final destination. Okay, so freight units are afterwards the documents that we use to plan our transportation. Okay, so the procurement phase up in here ends after TM has automatically created the DTRs and the freight units, and that happens automatically. Okay, so any question so far before we move on the plan phase? So basically, we've seen some changes in the shopping cart and PO, then the need to use packing to specify volumes and weight, and then there is an automatic integration in TM that creates DTRs and freight units automatically. Okay. All right. So let's assume that we already have DTRs and freight units automatically created, and then we need to plan our transportation, because we said that for purchasing group PD vehicles team, as of next Monday, we will be using transportation management module to manage the transportation. And in the case of vehicles, it will be mainly FCA, right, the Incoterm used. And in sequence phases, we will use the same process for other commodities that are not vehicles. But for vehicles, the Incoterm we said is going to be FCA. And in FCA, we will have a stage in which the manufacturer, right, in which the Toyota, Nissan, or any other manufacturer will be responsible for transporting the items from the factory up to the Incoterm location. And there will be a second stage in which UN is responsible for the transportation, and this is what we call the freight forwarder stage. So for the manufacturer stage, the goods vendor stage, the freight orders will be created automatically. So freight orders that represent each of the different legs, each of the different parts of our transportation network will be created automatically by the system. So the freight orders will be created automatically, and the manufacturer will be assigned as carrier. So if we are talking, for example, about Nissan, and let's say that the Incoterm location is, let's say, Yokohama Port, the system will create automatically a freight order from the factory to the Incoterm location based on the transportation network, and that will happen automatically. And later on, as a TM planner, if we want, we can always go back and change the route or change any of the freight orders created automatically by the system. But initially, the freight orders are created automatically by the system. For the freight forwarder stage, for the part of the transportation that the UN is responsible for, the system is not creating the freight orders, but as a TM planner, we should be using the transportation cockpit in TM to create the freight orders manually. So as a planner, we will connect to the transportation cockpit. The system will help us to create the freight orders and will show us the different proposals based on our transportation network, right? Based on all the different locations and the different routes available in the system as master data. And we as a planner, we will select the best proposal, the one that is normally used from the Incoterm location to the final destination. So in the freight forward stage, we are actually planning the transportation from the Incoterm location up to the final destination, up to the mission. So by selecting the best proposal, system will automatically calculate the charge estimates based on the master data, and will create the freight orders, one for each leg. Okay, so the freight forwarder stage can have different legs depending on the different stopovers, depending on on how many times we are going to be changing transportation mode. So we can have freight forwarder first delivering the goods, the vehicles with the vessel up to the a port, and then changing transportation mode to truck and delivering the vehicles by truck to the final destination. So the system will create the freight orders based on the proposal we have selected as planner, and we can use the freight orders to generate the statement of work document that will be used later on for the freight procurement phase. Okay. All right. So that will be the planned transportation. Okay, I think that's gonna be the one that is changing most for you. So I think we can stop at this point in time and try to show to you how that looks like in the system, just as a refresher of what because you already did those exercises during December training, but after Christmas time, we thought it was good to have this kind of refresher session the week before the go live. So while you think about questions, issues, concerns, let me connect into TM to try to show to you how that is represented in the system. Okay, so feel free to speak up. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is the main page of the new module. So this is TM, the new system that we will be using as a planner to plan the transportation. So we can use this system. This system is what we call here TM, Transportation Management, and in here we should be able to see different documents, new documents like the delivery-based transportation requirements, DTRs, the freight units. So in here, everything that appears in orange color and detail of TM is what we will be able to see in that system. So in here we can see DTRs, we can see freight units, and we can even do the transportation proposals by using the cockpit. Okay. So we have different tabs available in the transportation in TM. Here I'm still using the training environment. Okay. But if I'm not mistaken, we already saw yesterday that the links for production are already there, even though they are not yet accessible, but they will be starting from Monday. So you can see them if you connect to production, but they are not yet available for production use. Okay. So we have different tabs, like the ERP Logistic Integration tab that we can use to see the DTRs, okay, the overview transportation requirements. So transportation requirements is what we call the DTRs, delivery-based transportation requirements. And we have overview, and we have also display delivery-based transportation requirement. Okay. So normally we have, for each document, we have an overview and we have a display. So the display, we can use it if we know the number So if I click on here, the system will ask me to indicate the DTR number, okay? And then in the overview, I can use it to try to find my delivery-based transportation requirement, the DTR, based on some other fields. Like for example, if I know the inbound delivery, I can use the original delivery field to look for the related DTRs. But basically, the main screen you will be using as a planner will be the transportation cockpit available in the planning tab. So that transportation cockpit is going to be your main screen as a planner. Okay. So in here we can see the different profiles. So does anybody remember the meaning of those layouts and profiles that we discussed in December? You remember what was the meaning of those? So we have UNOE DAP, UNOE XWorks, UNOE non-DAP, XWorks freight forwarder stage, and UNOE non-DAP XWorks supplier stage. So basically for vehicles, we said that it's going to be mainly Incoterm FCA. So we will not be using DAP and XWorks. We should be using the two appearing below, right? The two last ones. And normally we'll be using the UNOE non-DAP XWorks freight forward stage. So normally we do the planning for the stage that the UN is responsible for, the one that we call freight forwarder stage. The supplier stage is the one that is responsibility of the manufacturer. And normally we said that the supplier stage is planned automatically, so the freight orders are automatically created by the system once the PO is approved. So normally we should be selecting for UNOE vehicles the third option. We are going to be clicking on continue, and the system will filter out only the freight units that are with Incoterm FCA. Okay. So in here we are in the transportation cockpit. That's the screen that we use to plan our transportation. So this is the screen we were referring before here, right? So this is the TM transportation cockpit, the one we can use as a planner to plan the transportation for the stage we are responsible for. And in here we have different sections. So on the top left we have the freight unit stages section. That is the so in here we can see the different freight units that are UNOE with Incoterm FCA that are pending planning, that haven't been planned yet. Okay. So this is the main section we are going to be using to select which freight units we want to start planning. On the top right, we can see the freight orders we have been planning in this session. So far, we haven't planned anything yet. And at the bottom, we can see the resources that in the current phase are not used. Okay, so we can see the different resources. So in later stages, we can, when we define the different resources available for transportation, we will be using more the concept of resources and the utilization, right? If we are using properly our resources to perform the transportation. And on the bottom right, we can see an overview of the freight orders we have created. So far, we haven't created any. That's why it's empty, also the bottom right. So basically, we should be concentrating on the top left, and we can use the maximize button to see that part of the screen better. So we can see the different freight units that are pending transportation. So we can see different ones. We can see the loading location and the unloading location. So if we see here Durban port, it's the loading location, so that in our FCA nomenclature, so the Durban port in our case would be the Incoterm location. So for this particular freight unit, the UN is responsible for transporting the vehicles from Durban to this shipping point that appears here with a code SPSS-A6, and the address is AMIS. So this code is what we referred to you before when we were talking about the shopping cart and the delivery address. So delivery address specified in the shopping cart and appearing as AMIS was automatically linked in TM to shipping point SPSS-A6. And that's why we said that we shouldn't be typing delivery addresses manually in the shopping cart, because otherwise the transportation management module wouldn't be able to connect those manually typed delivery address to existing shipping points. So that's a freight unit. If we want to see that freight unit more in details, we can always click on the freight unit number. So I'm going to click on the freight unit document number, and the system will open the freight unit so that we can understand that transportation requirement a little bit better. And we rephrase a little bit the different concepts that we discussed before. So pay attention always to the document header, to the title. So in here, what we are displaying, it's a freight unit. Okay, so we are displaying a freight unit, and we have different tabs available for that freight unit. So on the top part, we can see different data, so we can navigate through document flow, business partner, general data. So we have different tabs available for that freight unit, and at the bottom we have the items that are included in that freight unit. So in here we can see that the product ID is this one, and we can even see the description. So if we scroll a little bit to the right, let's have a look at what type of item. It's a vehicle. You can see it here. We can see the quantity. So this freight unit relates only to one. And in here we can see the volume and weight. Okay, and we said that this volume and weight, unfortunately, they are not maintained in the material master, and the only way to change those will be by using the packing. Okay, the packing functionality in the module. So those are the items. In a freight unit, we can have one type of vehicle, several type of vehicles, and the quantity can vary. So we can have freight units with only one vehicle, or freight units with 10 or 100 vehicles. And the meaning of a freight unit will be all the different vehicles that need to be transported from beginning to end as part of the same shipment. In the document flow, if we I have a look at the top part of the screen. In the document flow, we can see the different related documents. So we can see as predecessor documents. So you can see here that we have two different parts. So we have predecessor documents, and the predecessor will be the DTR, and we also have the inbound delivery numbers, the inbound delivery. And we said for each inbound delivery, we always have one DTR and we always have one freight unit. Okay, and as successor documents, we have the freight orders, and these freight orders are the ones that have been automatically created by the system. They are vendor delivered freight orders. So what's the meaning of this vendor delivered freight order? So in your opinion, based on what we discussed, what's the meaning of those 3 vendor delivered freight orders? Talking about UNOE vehicles with an FCA Incoterm, what would be, so how can we understand these freight orders? Any idea?
This system is created them automatically for the suppliers himself when he's planning to deliver it to the FCA location. And looks like, because the system right now is using the delivery, supplier address. And the supplier address for this one, I think, is Toyota, isn't it? Or
I think
JPEG.
so, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure. It looks like they have 3 legs. And it's great automatically. It should be 1 leg usually, but this one has 3 legs.
Yeah, so thank you, Asmi. You are completely right. So these freight orders relate to the part of the transportation where the manufacturer is responsible for. Okay, so if we have a look at the stages tab, so one of the tabs we have available and will allow us to understand it a little bit better is the stages. And in the stages, we will see that these first 3 legs that Asmin correctly said that they should be normally be 1. So these 3 legs correspond to vendor deliver, so responsibility of the manufacturer. And in here we can see the different locations. Okay, so there will be the first part is from Yokohama to Amsterdam, and then there are 2 different legs from Amsterdam to Richards, and then Richards Durban. Okay, so the handover location that is Durban, based on the transportation network that is defined in the training environment, it has created that route with 2 different stopovers, right? First one being Amsterdam Port, and the second one being Richards Port. Okay, and that's why the system automatically created 3 different freight orders for that purpose. But we should normally be having only 1 leg for the vendor delivered phase. Okay, and in here what appears as stage 4, so from Durban, that is the handover location, up to Ammis, that is the final destination. So from Durban to Juba is the part that is still, so please ask me if you can mute yourself while you're, I can hear some noise. Can you hear me, Asmi?
Yeah, we are just discussing with Mohammed here regarding the issues that this is actually one of the things that's still missing in the system. Because right now, I think this is suppliers, I believe, it's Nissan, right?
Yeah, let me check. Yeah. So how can we check the supplier?
It's from Japan, Yokohama, it's Nissan. So as you see, there are 3 legs here instead of 1 leg. Because in the system right now, the delivery address for the suppliers is just their headquarters, but it should be their warehouse location. Mm-hmm. So we are working in that to change it in the system and to select the warehouse locations in the shopping cart. So in this case, this is freight orders the routes will be correct. So in this case, the warehouse is going to be in Durban factory for Nissan, and then they will deliver it from Durban factory for 1 leg by ground transportation to the HCA location instead of 3.
Okay. Yeah, remember that this one, it's only training environment, so maybe even the the transportation network is wrong. Okay, but
No,
most
it's
important part, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's correct right now what the system is doing, but even in the first phase, we didn't capture yet the exact warehouse location for each supplier, because still in the system it's just showing the headquarters address for that supplier, and it doesn't mean that the headquarters of that address is the warehouse location for that supplier. But I'm not sure we're not going to have it right now in the first phase. We're going to add that to the information in the next phase.
Okay. Good information, Asmi.
Yep.
And the okay, so it's important that you understand that the freight orders, these ones that appear here, are the ones that we said that are automatically created by the system. So we didn't create them manually. So after the inbound delivery was created and we had automatically the DTR and the freight unit, automatically the system did the creation of these freight orders. But the stages for the freight forwarders are not created automatically, and we have to do it manually by using the transportation cockpit. Okay, so that's why the phase from Durban to Juba is still unplanned, so we cannot see the freight order numbers. And then later on, about going back to our discussion about 3 legs, 1 legs, it's important for you to understand that for each freight order, in both cases, either the manufacturer for the vendor delivered freight orders or the freight forwarders for the UN freight orders, there are going to be submitting events and attachments for each freight order. So in this case, that the system automatically created three different freight orders. In this case, Nissan will be able to submit events and attachments for each leg. So they will be able to say for the first freight order when they started loading in Yokohama, when they departed from Yokohama, when they reached Amsterdam, and then the same thing for the leg from Amsterdam to Richardsport. So they will be able to say when they started loading in Amsterdam, when they departed in Amsterdam, and when they reached Richards. So manufacturers will have to report events and attachments for each freight order. So we have 3 freight orders. Events and attachments are submitted per freight order. Okay. All right. So let's go back to our transportation cockpit. We can plan the transportation for a unique freight unit, or if we see that the loading location and the unloading location are the same, and the dates are within this 7 days window, we can even try to plan the transportation for both freight units together. Let's say, for example, we have freight unit ending with 459 and freight unit ending with 460, that both of them share the same source and destination, and the dates are very similar, so there is only 1 day difference. So we can select the 2 freight units and we can request the system to ship both freight units together, meaning that they will be shipped together and they will be in the same freight order. We will combine both requests, because in each of them will have different vehicles. So how can we request the system to create the freight orders? We will be using the transportation proposals to ask the system for the different routes available from Durban to Juba. So I just clicked on the transportation proposals and the system will display the different routes available. Was it clear, the concept of selecting several freight units. So we said that a freight unit combines or includes the different vehicles or the different vehicles and needs to be shipped together. Okay, so in each freight unit we have different items, but if different freight units share same source and destination, we can try to ship them together. Okay, so we received an error message, maybe because of a timeout. So let's try to repeat the action. So let me go back to the transportation cockpit. Let's cross fingers to see if it works now. Okay, so let me select the third option. Click on continue. Right. And I'm going to be selecting, we set freight unit ending with 459. Okay. And again, I'm going to be clicking on transportation proposals. And let's see if I'm now luckier. So in this way, we are asking the system to ship together both freight units. So if the transportation was only with one leg, so we will only have one freight order. Okay, so in here we can see the different proposals. So you can see that we have proposal 1, proposal 2, and if we scroll down, we will see different proposals based on the transportation network. So the transportation network is like a kind of master data with the different locations, stopovers, and identifying which locations are reachable and by using which means of transportation to perform a route. Okay, so for each proposal we have distance, duration, and cost, and we can see that as we selected two different freight units in the same proposal, we can see the two freight units that we have selected. So we selected these two freight units, and in each proposal we can see those two freight units included. We can see the means of transportation, like for example this first proposal is using flight. Okay, and in this planning status, it's important to point out that also the legs that are responsibility of the vendor, in this case Nissan, are showing here. So we said that from Yokohama to Durban is the responsibility of the manufacturer, of Nissan. But even though it's already there, so the freight orders were already created, we can see here for information purposes those three stages, okay, from Yokohama, Amsterdam, Amsterdam, Richards, Durban. Okay, but
for the stages.
It's automatically proposals.
Where is the source of this?
The source information is when we are feeding the systems with all the locations that we boards around the world, and the system will select the correct routes.
So these correct routes completely could be different than
exactly. There's two ways. So sometimes you find the exact and the correct. Sometimes you can find the correct routes here. If you didn't find, you need to create it. But most of the cases, it's already there. But right now, the big mistake right now here, because it comes with the first three legs from the supplier from Nissan, that goes to Durban. It shouldn't be like this. It should be actually the warehouse of Nissan is located already in South Africa. What they need to do is just the road, one leg, the road from their warehouse to the NCA Durban. But it makes confusion because it's providing three types of legs from Yokohama to Holland, and from Holland to South Africa. It's too complicated.
Yeah, and then it doesn't make any sense, right, to transport the vehicles with by using flight. Because
they should update it soon. So I really talk to other teams, and they should collect the data. They should collect the data, and they should feed it.
Could be like a airline booking, or you do what you call it.
No, airway, the air booking, because
I know, but I mean similar to booking of airlines, one leg to another, one leg to another. Here it's to me something, and I don't see any real data here. It's a guessing game.
okay,
I'm sorry.
okay. Let me explain to you a little clearer to Sam here. There is a different proposal. You see the proposal?
Yeah.
It's proposal 1, and you see there is the two shipments together. So there is two freight units here. So right now it's giving you two options. When you see this one, so you already disregard it because we don't want to use the UNOE. Anyway, the UNOE, I think it's here. I think it's responsibility of our freight forwarder. Okay, we don't want to use it. So you go down and you try to find the correct one. Okay, what's important right now? It's for you. It's from Dover Port to NMS.
Yeah.
Because the vendors, anyways, it's not our responsibility. It's the vendor's responsibility. So you need to find the correct route that goes from Dover Port terms to UNMS. And the way that we are doing it to find the right one, it's from Durban to Mombasa, and from Mombasa to UNMS. And you can see it.
Yeah, normally if we
scroll down, you will see it.
This is before
normally
the feedback from the selected
That's right.
transporter.
That's
This
right.
is before.
Yes.
So when we receive the real feedback and real route,
We need to change
we
around.
have to change it.
That's right.
Okay.
But most of the cases, we are guessing which one is the most actually routes that freight forwarders are using. In the beginning, yes,
Can change the system now.
that's right. So, but when you receive in the offer, when you receive the right route,
Yes.
so you can come back to the system and you can delete the freight orders that you already created, and you can create new freight orders based on the proposal that you received from the freight forwarder.
So but what's the point?
So
So
why
what's
that
the
page
time?
doesn't go that?
Because
what
we
kind
need
of
to
information
stop. This is the plan, right?
Yeah.
So this is the plan should be to go to our OW documentations. Okay, all the information will go to that there, right? And later on, we will see what exactly the proposed offer that we received from the bidders or the one that's already selected. And if it's not matched exactly what we expected, so we need to go and replan it correctly. And immediately we're going to enter the information of the freight forwarder for the new freight order to be created for him, and he can track it.
Any of this information is going to the SOW?
Yes. No, just the route. Correct route to
The
consider.
routes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
the most important is the destination.
Yes.
And
Because the system will create freight orders for each leg, right?
yeah, creating a
Freight order.
freight order for each leg is fine. It
Yes,
has to be. But I've been creating here 4 or 5. Okay, and maybe you only need 2. Why we have to go back and edit again? Why this page could be later on? I mean, I'm sorry. This is maybe.
Because the correct route for freight orders, not for the supplier. This one, 4 and 5. See, 4 and 5. This one. This one, 3, 1, 2, 3.
That's for the
Supplier. We don't care. Because anyway, we know this is wrong right now. Okay. But you can see this 4 and 5. 4 and 5. See 4 and 5. 4 and 5. Like an example here. It's going to be from the correct one that we are using. We can select is from Durban Port to Mombasa and from Mombasa to UNMS. But most of the cases, this is the way that we are shipping. If there is transshipments, maybe we'll try to capture the transshipment if there's an transshipment in the middle. But if we would like to consider the transshipment as the leg, we need to establish a new plan.
Hi, Esme. Yeah, thanks for the explanation you're giving, and yes, you're correct. I remember also Babakar when he came into the training room. He was also mentioning that I understand that some of this process may seem to some people that it doesn't make much sense eventually if then the freight forwarders are the ones who are going to provide the actual routes and the actual rates as well, but Babakar was mentioning that this is a way for the UN to also gather data, right? So these estimates eventually, at the end of a certain period of time, are going to be compared with the actual rates and also transportation proposals and so on. So eventually, the idea of all this is to understand, the estimates between the comparison between what we're calculating and the actual, so that the UN can eventually save money on transportation. That was basically the idea and what Babacar was trying to communicate as well. And that's the reason behind having the estimates before even having the actual information from the freight forwarders.
Yeah,
If that helps any understanding of why we're doing this.
Yes, I think, yeah, exactly. Because that's what I'm saying. That's me, and because the system will, within a couple of months, will start to have collecting data and have a learning curves in the system itself, and the system will immediately provide us the cheapest route. And I believe most of the freight forwarders, they're going to use the cheapest route. They're not going to use the longest or the expensive one.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for the discussion. Yeah. So we can use also, remember, the distance, duration, and cost to filter out the different proposals. So, for example, in our case, we just sorted the list of proposals by cost, and the one appearing first, the proposal appearing first, it's the one using C as a transportation mode. So we get somehow rid of the proposals using flight. And it's quite, for the stage that the unit is responsible, it's quite straightforward. So it's from Durban, Mombasa, Juba. Okay, so that could make sense for the transportation from Durban to Juba. And as we can see, the system will ship both freight units in the same transportation, because you can see that the loading start is the same for both. So if we select transportation number 9, we will see that the system will create two different freight orders, right? One from Durban to Mombasa, and the second one from Mombasa to Juba. And in each freight order, the system will combine both freight units to ship together the different vehicles. So we can accept that proposal by selecting it and click on Accept Planning. And on the top right, that before was empty, we will see now the two freight orders created. So we can only see two, one for each leg. And remember that in the transportation cockpit, unless we click on Save, freight orders are not saved. So at this stage, we can still do undo if we want to repeat the process about the transportation proposals. If we are happy with the proposal we selected, we can click on Save to actually save those freight orders. And if we do so, if we save them, we can use the selection, and at the bottom we will see the different details. So we can see the details at the bottom down, or we can, for example, click on the freight order to see the details of that particular freight order. So the first freight order is from Durban to Mombasa, and if we open the freight order, we will see the details. So that's freight order number 1. Okay, so we can again see a lot of different tabs. In the general data, we can see the source and destination. So source is Durban to Mombasa, and if we can see the different items, just to check that the two freight units were included together as part of the same shipment, we can click on the Items tab, and we will see that we have two different freight units. So we have freight unit ending with 9 and freight unit ending with 0. So we are requesting the system to ship together both freight units as part of the same transportation. Okay. So what we have done so far, it's what we discussed in the presentation. We have used the transportation cockpit to generate the proposals. We have selected the best transportation proposal. Based on the selection of the proposal, the charge estimate is automatically done by the system. Okay.
There is a rate table.
Rate table provided by.
Okay, so based on the rate tables, the system will calculate the proposals. So this estimation here is based on the, as Asmi was saying, is based on the rate tables. And what else? Okay. All right. Okay, so this is the estimation.
Yes.
And what else? The in here we have the different freight units and the scope of work. We can generate it from by going into the output management. Click on select statement, the statement of work, document preview. And click on document preview.
Which route did they choose?
Which one?
The freight forwarder line?
Which the route? Route from Durban, Mombasa.
Or the shortest one?
Yes. This is actually, it's going to be inbound delivery freight orders. Go down, Leonardo, please.
Okay, so this is the statement of work. Okay, so in here you have the different, I don't know if that's the latest version of the statement of work, but I think they were still doing some changes in the SOW.
I think so,
Okay.
yeah. It's not the final one.
It's not the final one, right? But because this is the training environment, but in production,
Just go ahead. Similar,
Okay.
but still I think there is final tuning.
Okay. All right, and you can see that in the we should be having here. So we have two different in the same statement of work. We have part 1 related to the first freight unit selected, corresponding to one purchase order, and in part 2 we have a different freight unit because we selected two different freight units while doing the transportation proposal. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why in the statement of work we are including two different ones. Okay. So in a nutshell, we have completed the freight orders, and we are able to generate the statement of work. With the statement of work, the procure freight phase can happen. So the procurement division for freight will be able to do the shopping cart for freight. So there are no changes in this part. In the SRM and the solicitation part, there are no changes. The only thing is that they will use the statement of work as an input. So the statement of work that was done first, or it was done before manually, now it can be generated by the system. And once the freight forwarder has been awarded, also procurement will go into TM to assign the carrier and assign the freight PO. Okay, so if we have a look at this stage to the, that's the freight order. If we look at the business partner, we can see that the carrier, it's still the dummy carrier, right? So after the solicitation process has been completed and we have the awarded PO for the freight, the procurement division for freight will be updating this business partner, and they will be selecting the one that was awarded with the carrier. So instead of dummy carrier, they will be changing the dummy carrier, and for example, they can use, for example, Kuehne + Nagel as freight forwarder. Okay. So they can be selecting that one, Kuehn and Nagel, and they can save it, and they will do the same with the freight PO. So the freight PO will be updated in the references. So in the document references, they should be updating the freight PO. Okay. So procurement division will be able to assign the carrier and link the freight PO. And once we have the carrier and the freight PO, in this case, Kuehn and Nagel will be able to do the update of events in CCP. Update of events, upload attachments, and so on. Okay. Asmin, do you want to have a look specifically at any? Do you want to spend some time in the execute and monitor? What?
I think because this is a procurement freight is responsibility more the buyers. I think the gentlemen and ladies there are not interested to know about it. The executing and monitoring, I don't believe they are going to be responsible for that, and it's going to be more responsibility for the inbound coordinator, which is myself. So I think how much time right now?
We have 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, we're behind schedule. So I think everything is okay right now. I think we can end here.
Okay. So yeah, so thank you for joining, and definitely we still have some sessions next week in case you have questions while you are performing these actions in production. So
yes,
so thank you for joining.
All the team is here right now. All the modular team, they are moved to our floor, the M14 floor in Secretariat building. So they will be here for when the system will go live. So if any assistance, they will help us. Okay, so the modular team will be in the Secretariat, right? Helping you? Okay, that's good news. They already relocated themselves here to this building. Okay, so that's good news. So you have first-hand support from them, from the ones that have designed the solution. Okay, so thank you very much, and have a nice day. Okay, and we keep in touch. And have a great evening. And enjoy your time, guys. There. Enjoy. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye. Have a good one.
Enjoy. That's our home.
Yeah, so
we enjoy it. We go.
So how?
If we go, we enjoy it.